And not to spend a lot of time on this, but we can just describe 3 broad categories of what are practice methods or practice techniques. These things that we do with our body, speech, and mind in order to effect this kind of change or transformation. The first is called applying the remedy or the antidote, which is, well, let's take an example. First is applying the antidote or remedy. The second is called transformation, and the third is called looking at the nature or relaxing into the nature. And these are progressively more advanced or sophisticated techniques. So the example is strong, passionate desire. Strong, passionate desire arises, it overtakes our minds, and we lose all perspective. The remedial approach is to say, okay, here's the image of this person whom I desire. How attractive is that person when my mind is not just overcome with this heat and this longing and yearning and so forth? If I were to strip even a few layers of epidermis off the surface of the appearance of that person, is there anything at all attractive there? Anything I would want to touch? Anything I would want to be close to? Just a few surface layers of skin. Under there, is there anything else that is desirable or attractive? Okay, there's a little bit of warmth, but you can also put your hands near a fire. There's a little bit of liquid smoothness or something. You can put your hand in a warm bath. What is it that's inherently desirable about that object? Even through that surface of the epidermis, the outer layer of skin, wherever there's an opening in the body, there's ugly gases and liquids or other things that ooze out or emerge all the time, look bad, smell bad. I wouldn't want to, That's the reality. So where is the desirable quality in the object itself? Simple meditation on repulsiveness, one of the first teachings of Buddha Shakyamuni for, of course, the monastic Sangha, right? How to overcome desire by meditating on the opposite. Second way, someone mentioned yesterday about just feeling the energy of the emotion or the thought and not following along with the imagery and buying into it, but just staying with the sensation or energy itself. So that's the starting point for the second method of transformation, as taught, for example, in the Tukje Chimpo Martri, the instructions on the Great Compassionate One from Karma Chagme, or as taught by Jamgon Kongtrul Rinpoche in his Chedzop Nedu, bringing together the essential points of the 2 stages of yoga. You start with that energy, and without allowing your concepts to harden and form and tighten around it, you turn your mind to a pure form. You imagine yourself in the form of the Bodhisattva, Chenrezik Avalokiteshvara, and that energy you now feel as light energy around a seed syllable in your heart, radiating out, spreading love and joy and compassion to all sentient beings. So you take that energy, you don't suppress it and you don't indulge it, you transform it. Because it's all a matter of your perception, and you're starting to get a hang of it at this point. That what you're really doing in all of your practice is playing with your perceptions and your projections, doing it more artfully or constructively. So that's transformation. And then mind-nature practice, you've heard a lot about from Lama Surya, which is you look directly at the origin or source for that idea, for that sensation, for that concept that there is something attractive out there, and you recognize it as arising from your own mind, but from no specific place, arising from nowhere, hovering nowhere, and as soon as you stop perpetuating it, vanishing back into nowhere. That's kind of a preliminary level of Mahamudra or Dzogchen practice, kind of a mundro or preliminary approach, saying where does it come from, where does it abide, where does it go to. But building from there, all these practices of mind, nature, Mahamudra, Dzogchen, these are the most advanced, most simple, and most profound methods for purifying negativities that arise within our mind stream. So those are the three types of practices by which our path gradually erodes away all of our confusion and allows the natural qualities of our Buddha nature to emerge more powerfully. So this is a process of growing confidence in ourselves, that it's always our own mind that is playing the key role in determining the quality and even the content of our experience. It's the mind buying less and less into the idea that the thoughts that appear in the mind are an actual and true description of something that is happening out there in a real world that is separate from the experiencing mind. You get that? The mind buying less and less into the belief, the non-reflective belief that the thoughts that appear in the mind and the emotions about those thoughts that appear in the mind are merely objective accounts or descriptions of real events that are happening in a real world somewhere separate and apart from that experiencing mind. In other words, the mind is more and more confident that whatever appears in it, to it, is mind, is its own display, its own projection. That is the key to the path for removing confusion. That is what the entire process is about. Put differently, this is about a growing familiarity with twofold emptiness: the lack of true existence of objects perceived by the senses or the mind, the lack of true existence of that designated I, the one who possesses those experiences, also just an empty designation without anything really being there. So now we're really on the path. We can talk about the path of accumulation, the path of junction, the path of vision. What I'm talking about now is something like the level of heat on the path of juncture. You're getting close to the path of vision, the third path, the beginning of the real bodhisattva bhumis, where there is a direct, accurate, complete experience of emptiness, not mediated by concepts at all, which is also ultimate bodhicitta. So what we were talking about before in the second Dharma was relative bodhicitta. Now we're working our way towards ultimate bodhicitta. And in terms of the types of faith that we were corresponding these dharmas to, now we're in the territory of Yiche Chidepa, or the faith of confidence or trust. It means the experiential confidence. We know it to be true for ourselves. So all of the practices are used for exactly this purpose. We can talk about visualization practice or deity yoga. There's an entire chapter in my book about deity yoga. But in short, what deity yoga does is it gives us like flight simulator training to simulate what it would be like to actually fly at the bodhisattva levels, at the higher bodhisattva levels, or at the level of enlightenment. We simulate the fruition and we take it as the path. That's how we train pilots, right? We don't trust them with the airplane right away. We put them in the flight simulator for 10,000 hours. So we put you on the cushion for 10,000 hours. The principle of deity yoga, which is crucial for at least the path of method within Vajrayana. The principle is that we have to become more accomplished or skillful at seeing the illusory nature of phenomena that appear to the mind. And we do so by deliberately and consciously creating pure appearances that simulate or are modeled on and symbolically represent the uncontrived natural state of wisdom awareness itself. Wisdom awareness cannot be represented. It is Dharmakaya. But it has its pure expression, its naturally flowing pure expression, which is Sambhogakaya. So when we visualize, we are visualizing the pure natural expression, the Sambhogakaya aspect, essentially, of the true nature of our own being, to give us some kind of handhold to draw closer. The last Dharma is make confusion dawn as wisdom. And this is really the culmination of the third Dharma. This is a description of what the entire path looks like from its ending point, from the level of fruition. This is really at the level of Dzogchen or Mahamudra, Chakchen. We realize at this level that any confusion we have ever experienced, any disturbance that has disrupted the composure and spaciousness of our mind, any bad karma we have accumulated, any negative patterns that persist, they are all entirely and solely the result of our mind somehow forgetting its own nature. And as long as the mind remains settled within the recognition of its own nature, there's nothing more or less to be done. Thoughts can't harm us, emotions can't harm us. They can arise, but they make no difference. So this is very close to the level of Buddhahood. This is the description of the final stages of the path. So when confusion dawns as wisdom, it means our minds never become lost in thought. It's a good phrase, right? Lost in thought. There is no more getting lost in thought, fooled by thought. This is an Arya level. This is called Chirmidokpe Deba, or irreversible faith. Like when they talk about the twice returner, once returner, non-returning arhats in the common vehicle, this is like the non-returner at the Vajrayana level. You will never be fooled again. So those are the four dharmas. And I kind of went quickly there because I wanted to move on to another important topic today. But I can never do as much as I want to. There's so much I want to share. Maybe we can reserve questions about this until the end, therefore. Let's talk about something else.